It was a quiet street, the kind of place where neighbors waved hello, where children played on manicured lawns until dusk. And Raymond Brown? He was just another face in the crowd, a fixture, predictable. He mowed his lawn every Saturday. He brought in his trash cans on time. No one ever gave him a second thought, and why would they? He was ordinary. He was quiet. He was, to everyone who knew him, completely and utterly harmless. But behind that bland, unassuming facade, a darkness was growing. A terrible secret was festering, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the one mistake, the one loose thread that would unravel everything. And when it did, it would shatter the peace of this sleepy town forever. And the thing is, secrets like Raymond's are always there, aren't they? Lurking just beneath the surface of our everyday lives. Raymond Brown grew up in a town not so different from the one he'd later terrorize. It was a place of modest homes, working-class families. His childhood was, by all accounts, unremarkable. No major traumas, no obvious red flags. He was a quiet boy who kept to himself, often lost in books or solitary hobbies. Teachers described him as average, not a troublemaker, but not a star student either. He was just there, a background character in his own life story. This pattern of blending in, of fading into the wallpaper, was a skill he honed from a very young age. He worked a steady, unremarkable job as an inventory clerk at a local warehouse. For 22 years he showed up on time, did his work without complaint, and left at 5 o'clock sharp. He rarely engaged in office chatter, preferring to eat his lunch alone at his desk. His colleagues saw him as dependable, if a bit of a loner. This was the life he presented to the world. A simple man, dedicated to his simple job, living a simple life. His evenings and weekends were just as predictable. He was known to be a meticulous gardener. His roses were the envy of the neighborhood. He would spend hours tending to them, pruning and watering with a gentle, patient hand. Neighbors would see him, head down, focused on his work, and think nothing of it. It was just Ray, the quiet man with the beautiful garden. They didn't know that this same meticulous care, this same patience, was applied to far more sinister pursuits. The dedication he showed to his flowers was a mirror of the dedication he applied to his secret life, a life that was anything but beautiful. This was the mask he wore, the mask of the ordinary man. A man who paid his bills, obeyed traffic laws, and returned his library books on time. There were no outbursts, no strange behavior, nothing to suggest the maelstrom of violence raging just beneath the surface. The illusion was perfect, and the town slept soundly, unaware of the predator in their midst. It happened on a Tuesday, a day like any other. The sky was a hazy blue, the air was thick with the promise of a warm afternoon. But on this Tuesday, September 4th, 2025, everything changed. It started with a routine traffic stop, a broken taillight, something simple, something that happened to dozens of people every day. But when the officer approached Raymond Brown's car, something felt off. It wasn't anything he could put his finger on at first. A strange stillness in the man's eyes. A flicker of something cold and hollow. A gut feeling told the officer to dig a little deeper. And so he did. A simple request to search the trunk. Most people would protest, or at least seem annoyed, but not Raymond. He just stared ahead, his hands gripping the steering wheel. He said nothing. The silence was heavy. It was a refusal, but more than that, it was a confession. The officer's suspicion escalated to alarm. Backup was called. The mundane stop on a sleepy side street became tense, electric with unspoken fear. Neighbors peeked from behind their curtains. It was just Raymond, after all. What could he have possibly done? When the trunk was finally opened, the officer's worst fears were realized, and then surpassed. The community's illusion of safety was shattered. The news spread like wildfire, first in whispers, then in horrified shouts. Raymond Brown, the quiet man with the roses? It couldn't be. It was a mistake, a misunderstanding. People gathered on their lawns, faces a mix of disbelief and dawning horror. They had shared fences with this man. They had waved to him. Their children had ridden their bikes past his house 1,000 times. The idea that this man was a monster was too much to comprehend. The arrest was a quiet affair, much like the man himself. Once investigators entered Raymond Brown's home, the full scope of his evil became terrifyingly clear. The house, so neat and tidy on the outside, was, a museum of depravity. It was a place where nightmares were made real. The search uncovered evidence that linked him not to just one crime, but to a series of them, stretching back over a decade. His crimes were as cold and calculated as the man himself. He was a predator who hunted in the shadows, choosing victims who he believed would not be missed, people on the fringes of society. He was methodical, patient, and honestly, terrifyingly successful for a very, very long time. His list of crimes was staggering. He was responsible for the abductions of at least 5 individuals. These were not random acts of passion, they were planned with meticulous detail. He would stalk his chosen victims for weeks, learning their routines, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He was also a murderer. The evidence found in his home and car confirmed that he had taken the lives of at least 3 of those individuals. He kept trophies from his victims, small personal items that he stored in neatly labeled boxes in his basement, a chilling catalog of his monstrous acts. The truth came out through a combination of old-fashioned police work and, well, the evidence Raymond himself had so carefully collected. The shock was a physical thing. You could see it on the faces of his co-workers. You could hear it in the trembling voices of his neighbors. Disbelief was the first reaction. It was universal. Not Ray, people would say, shaking their heads. They remembered the man who kept to himself, the man who brought in their recycling bin when they forgot. This was the Raymond Brown they knew, and they could not reconcile that person with the monster on television. The human mind struggles to hold 2 contradictory ideas at once. It was easier to believe the police had made a terrible mistake, but the evidence was overwhelming. It was undeniable. As disbelief gave way to sickening acceptance, betrayal settled over the community. They felt foolish. They felt blind. How could they have missed it? Was there a coldness in his eyes they'd dismissed as shyness? Was his silence not peace but a predatory stillness? It can be quiet, it can be polite. It can be the man who grows beautiful roses right next door, and to never assume we know the secrets behind someone's eyes.